Check.
Embark on your journey, the path you must take. Though hate may surround you, it's not your fate to forsake. Co-creating your destiny.
Check. Okay.
In the dance of time, the guiding light within you ignites the sublime. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. In the depths of your being, the truth resides. Embrace your power, let your spirit rise. With every step forward, you transcend the expanded conscious community we commend. Through trials and triumphs,
Come on, y'all.
your soul
evolves. Come on.
in the symphony of
Of life. Y'all know the lyrics.
No resolve. Listen to the whispers of your inner voice. In unity and love, let your heart rejoice. It
Is the light.
the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light shining bright, unlocking.
Y'all gonna move. Come on, move.
Beyond belief,
Let's go.
taking flight. It is the light,
Light.
the guiding light from the heart
Yeah,
and soul.
right, so
Don't lose control. Let it be the light shining bright, unlocking
Unlocking
potential
potential.
beyond
Unbelief.
taking flight. As we gather together in this sacred space, embracing transformation with grace. Life coach Malachi leads the way in unlocking potential day by day.
Woo! Come on. Move your body if you got to. Embrace transformation with grace.
Life coach Malachi leads the way, unlocking potential day by day.
Let's wrap this thing up. Let's wrap it up. Come on. Move your body. Semantics. When you move your body, you just beginning to vibrate in a frequency, lifting up. Lift yourself up right now. Come on. Deep breaths in. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you, thank you. It is me, Life Coach Malachi, coming to you today. How are you doing this evening? I appreciate you for just being able to show up here at this moment in this hour. It is April the 3rd, 2025, and I am very appreciative for everyone that is tapped in, tuned in to me. And right now, I think I'll need to do it myself, and that is I like to make sure I share the stream, to my story, and to let everyone know that we are live right now. This is going to be great. You see my 11/11 hat there, right? I'll be making all these different clothing that I get to wear for myself, right? Maybe one day I will release even some of my manifest and I like to have music that vibrates at a frequency that when I listen to the music, it's something that is a part of who I am. And one thing I noticed is we didn't have, or we don't have necessarily, expanded conscious sound. Affirmation music is what I call it. It is a sound and a music that still piggybacks some of the things we know, but it doesn't have all of the context and the way the music was through the years. Sometimes we can sing things and we can say things that don't vibrate at the frequency in which we would like to operate. Okay. So anyways, gonna go ahead and go through the room real quick. Of course, we have Miss Deidre. Look at her with that wonderful, amazing picture that is showing her light. I want to bring her up, and I want to thank Miss Deidre last week for coming in and doing a expanded conscious beyond belief talk. Of course, I'm gonna have a lot of different things that we are working on. I'm really finding some foundation, if you will, after being with Bishop Carlton Pearson. It's been just a little over a year, roughly, since I've started this channel, and I appreciate you, and appreciate Miss Deidre. All shout out to Miss Deidre for her talk, getting back to you. If you would like, make sure you go back and review that video of Miss Deidre getting back to you. That was amazing. I'm very appreciative for who she is, what she does, and how she continues to be a part of expanded consciousness, and really working hard. And she's over there doing some amazing things with TFC and Bishop TikTok, Pastor Christian A. Smith, who will be next month back on. We're working it out. Such a wonderful. I'm a underground member of that community, and I really love it. It's cool because I get to be a part of a really strange ministry, and I love it. Right. I come from a perspective of what other people would can't imagine what it is, right? And I love it. I just so love it. If you ever get a chance, um, do yourself a favor. Go join TFC. There's a lot of wonderful community in there, wonderful people that are just topics, things that you can find in the fellowship hall, things that are so hilarious and funny. And we get to just have community, even if it's online. Miss Marie was here last week. She came in, and I got to see her. We have some pictures that are posted in the Patreon. So if you get a chance, you can, for those who are members in the Patreon, go check out some of the pictures that we had. And I want to apologize also to Mother White, who was there also. I was planning on being there around 7. But anyways, Mother White, we appreciate you. You and that wonderful, beautiful picture. Y'all see that picture of Mother White on there? Isn't that amazing? That is amazing, that picture. I appreciate you guys, all the core people, the core community, Miss Gwen. Make sure anyone and everyone that's out there, make sure y'all are communicating with each other, right? Make sure you're communicating with each other. It's wonderful to have each other. And we have Miss Velma. Hey, thank you so much for stopping in. Miss Dorothy Parker, look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. Miss Dorothy Parker, she is growing and doing her thing. I told her, just keep going. Like, she was on here and she's been on different things, different shows, different invites, and that's the goal for me. That's what Bishop Carlton had as a goal. His goal was for us to expand, and while we're expanding, we need to explore. Just keep going, right? Expanded consciousness and this community for me is like it's. I love community, but I love also to see people grow. I love people to be able to build who they are and build their brands and become all of who they are called to be. And so for everyone that's in the room, I appreciate you. We'll go through some of Miss Teresa. Yes. All right. Women worthy of love. Yes. Miss Claudine. Oh, all right. Oh, hey, Miss LaDonna. Hey. It's good to see you. This is going to be a wonderful exploration. And I know some of you will really love where we're going to go. Brother Carl, I appreciate you. There's Miss Celeste. All right, man. You are all in the room. And there we go. I was about to say, where in the world is Tia? All right, there's Miss Tia. And oh, wow. And y'all see that right there? That is Hashib. Hashib is in Bangladesh. He just finished EID, and he is a devout Muslim in the country of Bangladesh. My brother, he has worked for me since 2017. So a lot of stuff you see on the internet, he's working on getting the site back up. We're going to make some changes, and he's working with me on all of my other clients. Hashib, I so appreciate you, brother, for all that you do. You're amazing. And I wish you and your family blessings. Yes, yes. You know, this evening, one of the things I want to bring up at this moment is um I'm sure it's going to still and yet be tough for some, especially the family. But it is brought to my attention um, that Mother Pearson, Bishop's mother, has transitioned to be with her son. Such a, you know, I know it's still yet probably tough for a family, regardless of the age. You know, Bishop Pearson transitioned roughly November 2003, and it is 2005. Um, so she's, was able to transition. I know she was in her 90s, probably mid 90s, right? Roughly. And so, to outlive a son, you're living with your son to outlive a son, a remarkable, amazing son. And she was living with her daughter, such a wonderful, beautiful family that has graced this earth, right, with love. And so, in in a little, just some remembrance, if you will, of her, let's go ahead and just let's have a little fun. This is her baby. Yes, this was 7 years ago. That was 7 years ago. And I'm sure that she's able to breathe beyond breath. She's able to breathe beyond breath, right? Not even have to I think after so long living this life, my grandmother lived until she was 99 years old. And by the time she was 90, moving into 95, she was able to get around and do whatever she wanted to do, walk a lot. I mean, my grandmother at 70, 80 years old, 85 years old, she was active. And to get into your 90s and you bury kids, I don't think it's probably, I don't, for me, like, you start out living your kids, and I think that can be kind of tough. So we make space for her as an ancestor, and for Bishop and their dear family. We lift them up, and we take the right seat for us to do what we do. All right. Tonight, I would like to move into the space of the topic and just give you about 15 minutes, 20 minutes That's what I'm thinking is going to be, right? Of this topic. I don't know if you're out there, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard about alchemy, right? Um, and it is a word, it is something that is pretty old and pretty rare, if you will. But the biggest thing I want you to know, and I want to begin to talk about some of these things, is that when we look at expanded consciousness and we look at belief systems, and when we look at the history and you look at some of the terms, right, that we talk about, you know, you hear all various different kind of terms when it comes to spirituality, expanded consciousness, when it comes to um, belief and belief systems. You know, one of the biggest terms that you would always hear in the church when it comes to words and things we don't understand. Uh, we might bring up things from the New Thought era, or we'll say that's New Thought, uh, which is the work of Bivasklasky. I can't really say it. It's a Russian, I believe. Um, and then you have New Age, which is the work of Alice Bailey. And what we tend to hear when it comes to things outside of what we are used to or comfortable with, a lot of it ends up being New Age, or we'll hear the word, maybe sometimes the word pagan, or sometimes we'll hear just various words that don't always necessarily relate. They don't always relate. It's just the fact that we were told that Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the light. No one comes to the Father except through me. And the text, of course, carry on with various different things on what we want to be literal or what we want to not be literal, right? And if we start getting into theology and the biblical text and going back and back and back, we will discover that there are a lot of not just discrepancies, but there's a lot of conditioning. There's a lot of things that's tied strictly to the church and the ideas or the ideologies that were designed, right, for us to make sure we lean into what we're supposed to lean into, especially blacks as slaves. Black people as slaves it was really important that we learned the way we were supposed to do what we were supposed to do. We were allowed to do some African spirituality, but only in the context of Christianity, right? And with, of course, the King James version of Christianity. We're not going to get too deep into that. We're gonna sit back and we're gonna assume that you're here listening to me with the understanding and the idea that you are ready to expand, or we're gonna come to an understanding that if you are here, that you are ready to see how to apply practical spirituality or apply things to your life, including some of the elements, if you would desire so, of Christianity to your life. But the thing is how we come up to this moment of who we are and what we are. There has been a history, right? There's a history, and that history is beyond what we've been told. So here on the expanded consciousness, as I would like to say, beyond belief, where I've settled in with the beyond belief is Bishop always says something. And one of the things that I really, really identify with, and I really love it out of everything he said, is what do you believe? Question yourself. What do I believe? Why do I believe that? And how do those beliefs add or subtract to the quality of your life? How do the beliefs that I have help me to be? How do the beliefs that I have help me to understand? How do the beliefs that I have help me to receive? How do the beliefs that I have help me to understand? How do the beliefs that I have help me to get through? How do the beliefs that I have help me to actually, how do my beliefs actually help me deal with life? That's where I'm going. I've been writing, Dr. Dorothy, intensely. I'm getting so deep into artificial intelligence and AI because I'm having a clarity of understanding that it's not another search engine. It's not this is not it's not a game, folks. Artificial intelligence is basically us being able to adapt and adopt and integrate with technology in a way that is going to almost like become like a robot. And you don't necessarily just ask it questions. You actually program it and you tell it, I want you to learn this. I want you to be this. I want you to be the most deep research, understanding spirituality, consciousness, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, entanglement. I've programmed it and it's helped me tremendously with some understandings that are not just deep, but I think it's revolutionary. I'm from programming and writing music to beyond belief. And there's 8, I'll introduce this later, but there's 8 domains of belief that I have figured out and come to understanding that we can zone in on with, and the AI has done a work for me to really pull those domains of belief. And the reason why we want to know that is because how we believe, and as we deconstruct our faith, we also may need to deconstruct or decolonize, basically stating that where we have come to this moment, and as we look at the dismantling of our democracy, and we look at the change or the chaos of how we have operate as a country, which is changing, right? The way we live. It's changing, or it better change the way you think. So this spiritual stuff, or this spiritual science and mysticism, if you think that your old school, antiquated, ancient texts and understanding of a book that has been given to you by a group or a sector of people specifically for you, and not give you the full context, not give you the full understanding, because I don't even think they know. I think they have just carried on what they have carried on with. I think a lot of this stuff, when it comes to the secret, I think a lot of this stuff is not, it's not that it's hidden. I think that they can't vibrate the frequency and be able to actually obtain or understand without getting afraid, which dates all the way back to King James writing his first book on demonology. Yes, King James wrote a book. His first book, or his first thing, was on demonology. He's the one that began the burning of the people, which they in return called them witches, at the stake. He was burning women, burning kids, all the way up until the Salem witch trials. We was burning them too. And they would torture people in torture devices and say, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And they would be like, my fingers are being smashed with screws and wood. And you know what I mean? Like, of course, you're going to actually, confess to something that's make believe. And we are carrying on with these understandings, or with this fantasy up until today. And I'm not saying that energy, and I'm not saying that evil is fantasy, but I'm saying how we arrive to the context of understanding this. A lot of it is fantasy. And today, I'm going to let you know this. I was asked, someone said, can I read my Bible? Can I do a lot of the things we've done in the church? And I'm like, absolutely. You can do whatever you feel that you think or feel that you need to do in order to be feel comfort. That's what it comes down to. It's uncomfortable. This is uncomfortable. And it may take you a little time to come out of that state of comfort. May take you a little time to be able to get to the point where you might be able to be okay. And it's okay, right? I'm going to make sure I got you guys running here with these comments, right? I'm sorry here because I can't. Okay. So we're not here. I'm not here to tell you what to believe, but I am here to challenge the beliefs that you have been handed down. Okay? The belief, beyond belief, and what I'm writing with the domains of belief, I'm developing what we call is a system of understanding, or a system that, because that's just the way human beings operate, and that's the way science works. That's the way we work. We work through story. We work through systems. Systems is just basically a way to organize things in process so that we can handle. But systems that no longer serve us or our soul's evolution is bound to not necessarily help us grow. So tonight, what I want to do is I want to dive into the ancient and powerful practice of what we call as alchemy. And I'm not just going to talk about turning the lead into gold, right? We'll get into the root of what this is, but I'm talking about turning the unconscious into the conscious. Anybody out there know where that's from? That is from, put it in the chat if you know where that, from the unconscious to the conscious. It's a famous psychologist. We're going to turn from the mundane into the miraculous, and we're going to turn and the self into something greater than what we've been taught to believe we are. So a lot of people don't know, but if we look at, and we're not going to, this could be literally a 6-week course, but we're just going to do this for this evening, right? And we're going to begin with understanding the Kemet, right? Kemet, which we now call ancient Egypt. Alchemy, or alchema, meaning from the black land. Come on, somebody. Was not some primitive superstition, y'all. It was a deeply spiritual, scientific, and metaphysical practice. The black land referenced the fertile soil of the Nile, but also the fertile darkness of the inner self, where transformation truly begins. See, later we'll get into, from my research and understanding, just to get you really a nice solid foundation, we have to understand that we were thinkers, right? And we always have been thinkers. So I see that someone said Sigmund Freud on there. Carl Jung, he's one of my favorite psychologists. But Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Look it up, Tia. Put that in the comments for us. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. That has to do it until you take what is just happening to you. 95% of your unconscious mind, you're operating on 5% of your mind, which is conscious. And when you go out, I need to go do this, I need to go do that. I mean, you're busy, right? And reason why a lot of us can be blocked, a reason why a lot of us could be stuck, a reason why a lot of us cannot understand what's happening in our life when we deal with certain things, even me, it's the fact that it's the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind. And that's what leads to behaviors. And the subconscious mind is directly tied to a lot of trauma. It's also tied to a lot of body chemicals, right? When you have certain things happen, that's where addiction can form. I digress. In the Kemet, science, y'all might take some notes because this is good. Science, spirituality, metaphysics. And you have to understand spirituality is tied to religion. Religion is just the set of laws, which is a system, but it's a set of laws that people formulate or come up with on their beliefs. And then they hand those laws down and they say, this is the way to do this, right? Most of it has to do with understanding God, especially in the Abrahamic faiths, right? One sec. Give me some water real quick. Science, spirituality, and mysticism. In the Kemet, they were never separated. We could just say alchemy began, and I would say alchemy was something that when you think about alchemy or alchemistry, right? Math, algebraic equations and things, that was Islamic. But chemistry, turning lead into gold. So alchemy was the beginning process where they would have spirituality, but then they would also actually have potions. And these potions is something that are used every day. We live with potions, right? We live with potions. So chemistry, and if you look at a periodic table, has to do with how we have used and how chemicals work. Chemical, right? Or components, elements. H2O, hydrogen, 2 oxygen. Science. Follow? So this is early science. Alchemy was the sacred science of transmutation. And if you haven't heard about that, transmutation has to do with a lot of inner work through knowledge of the self and becoming one with the divine. Temples were not churches. Follow me. Temples and what they had were not churches. Those were like conscious technologies, right? It was designed for ascension, alignment, and expansion. So they used to have what we call is the mystery schools or mystic schools, metaphysical, but mystery schools. And I believe that's where I'm really going is not just a mystery school, but an institute where we learn not just these things in history, but we learn how to apply these things to our life, or how we already are applying to them in our life, and we're looking for specific results in our life. This wasn't about believing in something outside of you. Okay? It was about knowing thyself, raising your vibration, and refining your energy, evolving consciousness through practices. They had rituals, and of course, these rituals were based on awareness. Okay? We wouldn't have science today if it wasn't for these things. If we weren't to go through some of these processes way before New Age, New Age thought, New Age or New Thought was the 1800s. And it was essentially one book that she wrote on the coming age, or the coming of the new age of understanding. The church shed a lot of that down. They don't want you, the church as a whole wants you dependent upon it. Right? They don't even want you dependent upon science until you really actually need some magic, some true change, right? Science is just basically magic that we have perfected. That's a bar. Years ago, God, as they say, really part of ourself, part of where we are, right? And it was like science is the language God has given us to manipulate Earth. Glass. How do we form glass? Recently, I went to an Irish fest and I seen someone messing with some iron, and he was banging the iron, and he was a blacksmith. Jesus was a carpenter. This right here is a Pinot Grigio. Is it Pinot Grigio or Pinot Noir? No, that's a Pinot Grigio. Pinot Noir is a light burgundy. If you do a Pinot Noir, you tilt the glass, it's going to be a very light burgundy color. Cabernet typically is going to be really dark. Oh. When Jesus made wine and water into wine, and it was saved, and they said, you saved the best for last. And it was only a miracle per se. It was only a miracle, not because he turned water into wine, because he was able to give you an aged wine. You save the best for last. What's the best? The best old wineskins, new wineskins. You used to store wine so it will ferment. And some grapes have high tannins, pucker, right? The skin on the grape, it will make you pucker. It will be dry. And most people that are new to wine want a Moscato. You want something sweeter because your palate is not adjusted. You haven't worked through the palate. The palate is tied to your brain. Your brain is consciousness and being able to describe these things. I'm telling you this because my wine's experience and studying to be a sommelier, which is a wine expert, is it helped me tremendously with understanding, like being able to pull out the notes, be able to go into myself and say, this tastes like this. And we apply that so that other people could understand. So we look at it from a broad perspective. The wine Jesus created was amazing, or a miracle, because it was aged instantly. And most likely it would have been like a 40-year age, like something that has been aged for a long time. As time has passed, alchemy, it hasn't really disappeared. It just kind of hid. We changed into chemistry, and we began to separate the disciplines. A lot of it, though, even in the times after Jesus, it traveled through what we call as the mystics, philosophers, Sufis, and the Kabbalah or Jewish Kabbalist. That those and the other one was Christian mysticism. Though those are the Abrahamic faiths, mystic faiths, right? Saint Thomas Aquinas, and who else? The Rosicrucians. A lot of those people are tapped into the ancient teachings. A lot of times when you go into the secret societies, or societies with secrets, so a lot of your Masons, Freemasons, even when you start, people or use the word Illuminati, you had secret societies or societies with secrets or societies that kept their knowledge amongst each other, because just as we live today, they treat you like sheep. And most people can't really identify or can't really understand or have a context of understanding of this content, of this information, because they have to keep you dependent on something outside of you. And I'll say God is within and God is without. Knowing is within and knowing what is without. Consciousness is pure. Consciousness is within and consciousness with it is without. Consciousness is consciousness, right? The hard problem of consciousness is that you cannot fully describe it, or consciousness has many different levels and not necessarily chronological. It would be not just deep, but it's also wide, but it's also in the 3D space, right? The XY, right? I know I'm getting a little deep. Now we would get into what we call is geometry, the sacred geometry. How we are having this conversation right now has all to do with the sacred geometry and consciousness, and being able to formulate and repeat these processes. And that's how we have developed science. One of the things about the Rosicrucians and mystics, philosophers, Sufis, and the Kabbalah, the Christian mystics, and the great mystery schools, they understood the great work. That's what it was called. Look it up. The great work. It wasn't just about physical transformation, but it was also about what I would call is spiritual evolution. Another word that you need to have. That's one that I will bring up a lot. Spiritual autonomy has to do with your spiritual independence. That has to do with you being able to say, my spirituality, a part of who I am, is I got what we call is the free will, which is another talk. But I have the understanding that I have a free will to work in these parameters. Free will is not free if you don't know that it's free. So therefore, free will is not necessarily free will, because if you are a slave and you say, yeah, you got free will to do it, you got free will to die. So you know what I mean? So your frame of reference would be, I don't have any free will, or I don't have the ability to do certain things based on these parameters and what other people are doing to us. But spiritual evolution is the fact that we evolve. That's conscious evolution. Barbara Marx Hubbard, conscious evolution, right? That is here. Conscious evolution. That's another good one. Conscious evolution. Look, I almost thought I was doing a Donald Trump upside down Bible. Conscious evolution. This is a book about how we evolve as a people. How must we evolve? Now we need to be paying attention that we are evolving. Most people don't pay attention that we're evolving, and that's what's going on with our current government, is the fact that they're looking at Elon Musk and I can go in there deep, Peter Thiel, and all of his people, and Curtis Yarvin and his philosophies and dark enlightenment. A lot of these people are ahead of the game as what I would say is that Silicon Valley. And these are engineers that are getting into a lot of alchemy and a lot of the spiritual practices that everyone else don't understand, or they have an understanding of it, especially within the engineering of your mind, or also the colonization of your mind, right? And we're sitting around looking like Boo Boo the Fool, while they're using AI and everything else to manipulate the shit out of us. Spiritual evolution is how we understand, and this is what we're doing tonight, is realizing that we have to evolve, and we do evolve, and we better evolve spiritually. And yet that shouting and dancing was cool, and it's almost like, I look at shouting and dancing like a what do you call it? It's almost like a record. You know what I mean? Like, you play the record's cool. It's like an art form. Like, oh, you're shouting and dancing, right? Turning the lead into gold. A lot of times that's what you would hear when you hear about alchemy, but we want to say it. We want to call the lead, right? Literally lead. And you're going to take that lead as a chemical, and alchemy would say, we're going to turn this lead and figure out how to turn it into gold, which you really couldn't, right? Because gold was a fine element, material, metal, precious metal that was on Earth that we used. It's actually in your body. We won't go too deep into chemistry, but the turning the lead, which I would call is the human conditioning, the human mind, fear, our ego, pain, suffering, right? Trauma. Some of our traumas and some of our sufferings and some of the things that we're dealing with right now today, folks, I'm telling you, you're not going to fix all your traumas. You're not going to fix all of your suffering. You're going to have to learn to lean into some of it. And when we turn that into gold, we're talking about turning that into divine consciousness. We're talking about moving who we are and transferring and transforming who we are into who we originally are. There's a lot of shedding of layers that we got to do. There's a lot of things that happen to us as we go along. So when, for instance, when you are fasting, the church talks about fasting and numerous religions talk about fasting, and they look at it as a spiritual context. But when we look at it from an alchemy perspective, what happens is you also are doing stuff to the body chemistry. Right? You stop eating, all of a sudden, the metabolism's going to change, your hormones are going to change, and your body's going to shift and say, hey, we're in panic mode, and we need to start storing fat, and then we need to shut this down, shut that down, right? And then we need to go back up to the brain and be like, panic. Right? Something's going wrong. And then all of a sudden, this spiritual feeling that we have when we're not eating, and that basically ain't nothing but getting body chemicals. And really, all you're really doing is you are adjusting and messing with your body chemicals, which is going to change your body. But also, it will activate the pineal gland, and it begin to activate who you are. And some of the natural body chemistries, kind of like what you would find in something like cannabis, right? Chronic pain and cannabis is naturally in our body. That's part of what we call is the endocannabinoid system. They say THC is inside the baby's colostrum. Inside the breast milk, and there's colostrum, and there's elements of THC, which can cause some numbing of the nipple, and it also can do things to the baby's endocrine system. And also, that's one reason the baby is not just full. The baby has experienced these body chemicals, which will put it to sleep while it's drinking breast milk. Sorry, but not sorry. I know I'm going crazy, and this is light, to be honest with you. I try to keep it light. the church gained a lot of political power even back in the day. And anything that was offering that was personally sovereignty, right? Personal connection to the divine, it was a pure threat. To this day, in the age that I'm able to have a conversation to you and blast out this information, it's still a personal threat for a lot of people to sit back and say, you're listening to him. And all I'm doing is speaking words, right? I'm not speaking the word, which they got confused because when you say the word is not talking about the Bible, the word was with God and the word was God. It has nothing to do with the Bible. I digress. I won't go there. But demonization of what things I'm talking about was by religion, and a lot of that had to do with fear of your inner power of who you are. There are a lot of religions, but given the fact that 2.5 billion people are Christians and there's so many levels, and that's what people always like, you're always getting on the Christians. I haven't dealt with a Hindu person coming to me or knocking on my door, and they like to operate in their own silo, and you can go to them and be cool and love it. A lot of faiths, Judaism's that way. They're not trying to recruit and trying to add nobody. Actually, the less is better for them when it comes to the Jewish faith versus Jewish people. Two different things. Judaism versus being a quote unquote Jew, Middle Eastern descended Caucasian. I'm sorry. I'm about to get canceled. That's American version. But Christian history is basically filled with a lot of suppression that we don't hear about. Alchemy, astrology, divination, mysticism, they are all labeled as heretical or demonic. And a lot of it wasn't because it was evil, but it was because they put power back into the hands of the individual. Take that in. What happens if you don't need a middleman? What happens if you don't need a middleman? What happens if you don't need a priest or you don't need a doctrine? Mysticism and mystics, we like to ask questions. We like to ponder and wonder, and we like to go deep into whatever it is, even wine. You just need to remember who you are, folks. Alchemizing and alchemy is about remembering who you are. I guess I left the door open. Come here. You need your haircut. Izzy. She needs her haircut. What you doing? You want to come in here and sit down? All right. You sit under there and don't bother me, okay? The suppression of belief, a lot of it is tied to you as an individual and the fact that if you know who you are and the true power of who you are, and as we get into super conscious, superhumanities, and we get into what we call a super consciousness, the human being is about to drastically change over the next 20, 50, 100 years. We're going to drastically change. Our consciousness is changing. Who we are is changing. And a lot of that has not just to do with science, but what we are going to understand as human beings. Like, we're going to be able to understand, for instance, what the Kemet and what the Egyptians understood because they didn't have what we had. We have the ability to replicate a lot of sciences and do a lot of different things. But I believe that they had the ability to do things outside of what technologies we have. The technologies of their day helped us create the technologies we have today, right? They were working with less than we have to work with so that we have the ability to do what we have to do. They developed the foundation, which was the original science and the original math in order to formulate or create a computer. We're just building off of what they have laid the foundation for. And where we will really reconnect to is the divineness of who we are and us as a special species, and how we can use frequency, right? And we can vibrate a frequency that actually transfers the energy of who we are, right? And we can begin to change and manipulate the world around us. And the science behind that is what we call is quantum physics. And part of that is quantum mechanics, right? And moving into entanglement, right? Alchemy teaches the kingdom of heaven is within. And when it says the kingdom of heaven is at hand, it would not be referring to the end, but it is at hand. You can reach out and grab it. This is very, very dangerous to the systems that are built on control. When you got to be at the building and you got to be with the people and you got, and in that whole system of belief, as you would learn from my research and book teachings, that that is the first domain of belief, right? Here, let's go. Y'all about to get some exclusive. So if you on here and you paying attention to Malachi, right, you about to get some exclusive information that is included. Let's make sure. Okay. This information is like the foundation of the book. I got to exit out of here real quick. This is good. I think you're going to love this, right? Somebody just posted oneness. Yes, we did. Does this, it definitely leads to oneness. Well, I don't need to share any sound. So, all right. You see that? This is beautiful. Belief systems shape human perception, behavior, and experience. They can be categorized in various areas, each influence different aspects of life. So, but this is something that I'm developing and literally trademarking. I'm trademarking this system. I'm using various tools that are, the only way I can do this is with, for the most part, artificial intelligence. So look at that. Number one, religious beliefs, philosophical, scientific, cultural, psychological, which are different than religious beliefs. Economic and financial beliefs, paranormal, supernatural beliefs, and existential, transpersonal. There's certain pieces of this. This is how you are formulated and made up. But that number one domain, if you can capture somebody's essence of who they are, and you start talking about life and death, beliefs about reincarnation, hell, heaven, afterlife concepts, if I can get you within the first domain, I can control every single one of the other domains. That's the reason why your first domain is directly tied to every last one of these. If you can get through your first domain and go right into your spiritual and mysticism, right, that you already directly experienced the divine, you're directly connected to the consciousness, right? If you understand that, okay, That's where I lie within the religious beliefs. I have the freedom to go throughout all of these things that are part of who I am consciously. This is almost above psychology, because the thing is psychology is also a domain of belief. That's a whole nother teaching, y'all. I'm gonna get off of it. Because that right there is that right there. I just, you know what? I really need to have a disclaimer. I need to have a disclaimer that if, you know, as you go through this, because you're going to witness and you're going to experience some transformation. And the thing is like, it's not for the faint of heart, and it might mess you up a little bit. Like, you might begin to see your world change, and you might start dealing with some shadow work. You know what I mean? And you'd be like, man, I'm getting away from him, because guess what? Now you're messing with your whole psyche, and you're beginning to messing with and tear down a lot of these walls, these mental walls, and break down from all that BS that is keeping you from accessing the divine, accessing who you are, accessing, and then moving into what we call as the manifestation power. Right? As you begin to not just believe, you begin to know, you begin to feel, you begin to act, you begin to become. You manifest who you are. All we need to do is remember who we are originally. It's not about learning, it's about unlearning. It's about connecting to who we are already. We're already practicing alchemy, whether we call it that or not. Every time we transmute that pain into purpose, every time we forgive where we once held resentment, we let it go. Every time we face our shadow instead of running from it, and we are doing the work. Modern alchemy it isn't about turning metal into gold. It's about turning our basis of belief into awakened awareness. It's about reprogramming the stories and what we have been handed down from things like religion and culture and things from trauma, and choosing to evolve. We don't need to necessarily become woke and deal with the history of the African American or the African coming to America through the boat experience. We don't need to just, we don't want to just pound that out and go through that story over and over and over again and think about what happened to Africans, right, as they came over here. We're trying to actually learn those so we can say, oh, that's the problem. Oh, that's the trauma. Now we can say, you know, let's deal with it and understand it. All right? We're choosing to evolve. When we meditate, y'all, when we do the shadow work, y'all know what shadow work is? Every last one of you are dealing with some shadow work. Or you're doing some shadow work. You're doing shadow work while you listen to this. But when we align with our higher consciousness, when we think about things like fasting, when we speak intention, when we visualize and we begin to take things in and we begin to do the breath work, and we begin to breathe, we manifest to create. We're using the same principles as the alchemists and the Kemet practice. That's how we formulate the things that we have today, but we're learning how to go within and not go without. When we think about the lead, as they talk about in alchemy, turning the lead into gold, the lead is our limitations. The gold is the divine potential of who you are. So anybody that's trying to break free from anything that you're going through right now, or break free from your religious beliefs or things of that nature, or when we review and we see bad theology or we see things that we don't agree with, it's us looking at the fact of possibly where we have come from, or we looking at what is causing people to suffer because they believing in this outside thing that has been confusing because they tie a lot of a lot of old religious beliefs, and they tie a lot of things that I believe can be connected to us epigenetically. Dr. Bruce Lipton, if you want to learn about the biology of belief. Epigenetics, how our genes can change, or how we can actually begin to inherit, or we begin to take on things like I believe racism is. AI, neuroscience, quantum physics, all that stuff, y'all, is echoing mystics and alchemists. Can you be using it to manipulate? Absolutely. So you better start paying attention, because what they say, everything is in energy. It can't be created or destroyed. It just changes forms. Everything is a vibration. Everything is consciousness as we know it. Outside of consciousness, I believe, is where that deity or that God would be, is outside of consciousness. So we can't really use consciousness, and we can use scripture. If it's outside of it, we can't even use it to determine it. That's just us. All right. I just want you to that expanded consciousness and beyond belief. I'm not here wanting to cling to old ideas. We're just going to ask, what if everything we believe was just a layer? It's just that lead. It's just that thing we want to turn to gold within us, right? So they were using it as a philosophy. They were using it as a chemistry. They were using it also as things around them, changing their thought. That's how we formulated or made glass, alchemy. It's not a myth. Let's just say it's like a living metaphor. Or more than that, let's just say it's a practice. It's something we can reclaim, this ancient science, not something as like a relic past, but something as a tool we can use. So when you meditate, I always tell people to meditate as an exercise. When you meditate, okay, when you meditate and you practice this, going from a spiritual practice, which you can do it for that, but you can go into a practice as an exercise. I'm doing this, taking this moment, taking this time, because I want these thoughts to keep rolling. They rolling. And I'm going to take this moment where I can feel those thoughts and see those thoughts. And how do I feel those thoughts? Not necessarily see them, but feel them in consciousness. It's no different than if you were to say your name in your head and you're the observer of saying that. That is an exercise that's exercising, right? The spirit, the consciousness of who you are and the thoughts you have. The act of transmuting or transmutation is essentially what we're doing, changing forms. When you begin to take that water and you put it into a tray, right? Or you take that water and you plug it into your refrigerator, you are in the alchemy, you are in the process of alchemy. You're going to change that from a liquid into a solid. And if you take it outside, if you boil it, it'll turn into a gas. It's an alchemy. That is an alchemy process. But now we're just going to talk from the perspective of who you are. How do I transmute? Right? You deal with the suffering, you deal with things coming for you, you deal with all that, and you transmute that by doing the practice. You're dealing with the shadow. Oh, you're feeling the suffering. Oh, you're feeling the pain. Oh, you're feeling the drama. So I'm going to look at it head on, and I'm going to start dealing with it. And how I'm dealing with it, I'm going to listen to Malachi, Expanded Consciousness. I'm going to listen to Christian. I'm going to listen to some YouTube videos. I'm going to listen to some of this, and I'm going to read some books. I'm going to go forward. Are you ready to transmute? What are you ready to release so that your true self can arise more? Another thing about alchemy I didn't mention was what we call is the philosopher's stone. This is true magic. It's in you. It is you as you. And you are, and you will. The philosopher's stone, real quick, before I end, because in alchemy, there are also symbols, right? It's just no different than the symbols and the things that they had on the Egyptian wall. But, and that's what we have. We have we still have symbols. But the philosopher's stone, it wasn't a physical thing. Basically, it's a symbol. And the way we want to look at it as the inner divine, or the inner completion, the fully awakened human, the integration of the mind, the body, and the spirit, the soul, the shadow, right? This is representing of what they call is the great work. So when we begin to transmute the energy of ego, fear, trauma, the limitations we have, we transmute those into higher frequencies and vibrations, into awareness and compassion, divine intelligence, right? That philosopher's stone is you. When you begin to remember who you are, when you begin to awaken into the power of consciousness, when you begin to realize that you never were broken, you might have been bruised, you might have been a little beat up, but you're just buried underneath a belief system that told you otherwise. This is not something you find, this is something you become. All right, y'all. I gotta stop. I can keep going. I feel I can be. I'm like Miles Monroe. I can probably do this for 4 hours. If I did it that long, then y'all would have to have notes in a PowerPoint. Yeah, I know y'all be like, oof, coach be going. He be getting all into it. Woo! As we know, and some of you guys know, I mentioned it before. There's music that is live inside of the Patreon. That you get to hear this. You get to hear the music that I'm producing, and this music is designed with all the stuff that I talk about in mind, right? And for anyone that has heard any of this music that's on the chat, y'all what do y'all think? Y'all let people know how it is, how it resonates with you, because it resonates. Let's see. We have slow and fast, and all sorts of different things. So what we're gonna do is all right, hold on, laptop. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but my laptop was just playing and playing. I didn't want it to just start playing. Dr. Dorothy said, look at that. She said it's 95% of what she listens to. Yep, I'm telling you, I sit there and I listen to it myself. Oh, you can hear that come through the mic? Oh, okay. It's all right, because what we like to do, I like for it to come through your speakers. Since I talked about alchemy, I'm talking about manifestation. Sometime I'll drop the sacred evil word magic. So guess what? This is a little catchy tune. Thank you, Dr. Dorothy. This is a little catchy tune that is just something that brings joy to my heart, and I just love to hear it. And it's called Miracles.
Miracles come knocking like a quiet melody. You got to let them in to set your spirit free. The universe is humming a tune you can't ignore. So open up your heart, there's always something more. Oh, miracles, oh, magic, they dance up in the sky. Believe them with your soul and watch the reasons why. Manifest your wonder, let the journey start. Miracles like rivers, they flow into your heart. They say the world is wild and untamed mysteries, but if you close your eyes, belief is the key. Glimmering in darkness like whispers in the rain. Miracles will guide you through the joy and through the pain. Oh, miracles, oh, magic, they dance up in the sky. Believe them with your soul and watch the reasons why. Manifest your wonder, let the journey start. Miracles like rivers, they flow into your heart. They say the world is wild and untamed mystery, but if you close your eyes, belief is the key. Glimmering in darkness like whispers in the rain. Miracles will guide you through the joy and through the pain.
Come on.
Shy away if you want, kid, be afraid if you dare. This life's no performance, no need for a snare. They'll judge you, they'll doubt you, but don't lose your flame. Miracles are waiting, just call them by name. Oh, miracles, oh, magic, they dance up in the sky. Believe them with your soul and watch the reasons why. Watch the reasons why. Manifest your wonder, let the journey start. Miracles like rivers, they flow into your heart.
It's so cute. Na, 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 da, da, da. It's like a little story, like a little rhyme. Like, you know, I grew up on Christian music, and my father was different. And he was different. That he was early CCM, 1970s CCM, and I was raised with a group called the Allies. Oh my! And there was a song called "Walk with Me Silent." One of my favorite songs. I used to just be in tears over this song. And so much so that you got to hear this with me. Like, and then we'll go. Right. This song, and this is a song, and it was a band that my father found at a gospel bookstore in like probably it had to be probably like 1992 or so. And it was a different Christian band, but this was one of my favorite songs, and that's how I formulated or came up with this past song. But I'm gonna write a song very similar to this. But listening to this song, it's really beautiful.
I've been walking down the street every night for 15 years. It aids my circulation and it helps dispel my fears. Although I'm out all by myself, I haven't any fear when you walk with me silent. Everywhere I go, please walk with me silent again. I walk along the avenue, never bother anyone. My wife, she leaves the lantern on the porch till I come home. She worries so about me, but in her heart she knows you walk with me silent. Everywhere I go, please walk with me silent. Tell me I'm your own and I will talk to you silent. Say all the things you love to hear. Walk with me silent again. And when I'm far away, I'm sure I know the way. And if by chance I don't remember, walk with me silent again. And when my life is over, I won't ask much of you. Just walk with me silent until we reach our home. Please walk with me silent. Tell me I'm your own and I will talk to you silent. Say all the things you love to hear. Walk with me silent again.
Let's go to oboe. Oh my goodness, y'all. Y'all take me back, man. That was right. Remember that back when you used to fade a song out? You know what I mean? You just kind of fade this song out, right? It's funny because the Allies was a Christian rock band, but those guys were like different, right? They come from a different space. Like, come on, walk with me, silent. Like that. How Christian is that, really? Right? This is not super Christian-y, right? But that's I just wanted to take you there so you can get a foundation and understanding of who I am musically, right? I haven't been, but I was a trained musician. I played the clarinet, bass clarinet, sax, baritone sax, and all the percussions, keys, a little bit, organs, a little bit, right? So I have a musical background. Beautiful. Thank you guys for attending, being a part, and just, as we figure this out, I think it's forever. I'm forever figuring it out. I will, of course, end this with either release the blame or learn to be. And you pick. If learn to be was the one that I think this was the Bishop version. No, that's not the Bishop version. That is the faster version. That's the faster version of Release the Blame. There's a slower version of Release the Blame. When I release this, there'll be a couple of like real slow, connected songs. But anyways, I love y'all. It's so fun. I won't forget also, Miss Deidre, thank you so much for what you do. That's the community, right? It's on Patreon. Just type that in, go over there. And I think I think we have something at least half price. And if you really, really want to be a part and don't have it, message me or Deidre and we'll get it taken care of. I got a couple of months or, and essentially y'all, as you grow and as you're doing all this, you just carry a lot of expenses. And, but I plan to do a lot too. Right now, we're just, I'm just kind of filling it out. But when I start getting deeper into the school stuff, there's some that I'll introduce into the community, but some of it will be a little different. But anyways, that right there is Patreon. If you don't want to do that, there's still the Cash App. I appreciate y'all 100%. 100%. This Saturday, of course, we're going to be doing our Saturday healing, and it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful that we have wonderful time. Probably just a little teaching, but we all get to interact. We all get to talk, and we all get to grow. A lot of direct connection and direct healing, if you will, amongst each other, and we get to speak into each other's lives. And of of course, I'll probably introduce a little bit more music before I compile it all together, right? And then you guys can share that with your family and with people. And yeah, most definitely. As they say, all minds clear. I really thought. All right. I didn't see any messages on there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, Miss Marie. You're so wonderful. Listen, there's that one. Oh yeah, it's on there. We'll go out with this here. All right, y'all. That's good to go. Listen.
I was raised in the echoes of sermons and signs.
You was told what?
Who I was, what to believe, how to walk the line.
Good night.
Kneel down at the altar, searching for grace. But all I found was fear wrapped up in faith. But something deep inside kept calling me. A whisper in the dark said you are free. Not in the rules, not in the chains, but in the love that calls my name. Learning to love myself, trust myself, even when I think I'm wrong. Learning to be set free, learning to be, learning just to be. No longer bound by the way of my past. Took off the guilt, let it burn in the ash. I don't need permission to stand in the light. God ain't a place, God is inside. God is inside. Something deep inside keeps calling me. A whisper in the dark says you are free. Not in the rules, not in the chains, but in the love that knows my name. Learning to love myself, trust myself, even when I think I'm wrong. Learning to be set free, learning to be, learning just to be.
Y'all learning to be who you are. You learning to be set free. Come on, be set free. Love y'all.
Something deep inside keeps calling me. A whisper in the dark says you are free. Not in the rules, not in the chains, but in the love that knows my name. Learning to love myself, trust myself, even when I think I'm wrong. Learning to be set free, learning to be. Learning to love myself, trust myself, even when I think I'm wrong. Learning to be set free, learning to be, learning just to be.